Hey everyone, this is Jassel from Geek Public Radio bringing you your criminal fix. Today we're going to talk about the disappearance of Maura Murray. If you enjoy this video, please be sure to like and subscribe for all of our content, and don't forget to hit that bell so you never miss out.
Robbery has turned into a potentially explosive situation.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us at Geek Public Radio for your criminal fix. Like I said, tonight we're going to talk about the disappearance of Maura Murray, which happened 17 years ago. Maura was born May 4th, 1982, so she's just about a year older than us, you will too for you, in Brockton, Massachusetts, as the... He didn't like that. As the fourth born to 5 total kids, she had 1 older brother, 2 older sisters, and a younger brother. So lots of kids in that family. She grew up in Massachusetts, and she was always described as somebody that was well loved within her community, well known for her beautiful smile, very friendly. She was an overachiever in both academics as well as sports. So she played basketball, and then she also did some great work with her cross-country skills. She was in the National Honor Society, and she got a trip to New England as a teenager, actually, because of her playing basketball. And she consistently finished top tier the runners in Massachusetts for, high schoolers for cross-country. And she actually got selected for the National Scholastic Outdoor Championships, where she placed 33rd in the country for her 2-mile run. So that's not just her state, but the entire country for high schoolers that were competing in the 2-mile run. She got 33rd, which is pretty good. She graduated top in her class, not surprisingly for an overachiever, and pretty much had her pick of colleges, but she decided she was going to follow her sister and go to West Point. She got a nomination from the late Senator Edward Kennedy and decided to join her there. And she did 2 years at West Point, where she excelled in everything, just like she always had up prior to that. She did amazingly in her military training, in her academics, and again in her cross country. So it was around her second year that she decided that the military just wasn't for her. And she transferred to the University of Massachusetts in Amherst to pursue a career in nursing. On the morning of Monday, February 9th, 2004, she submitted her nursing homework electronically that day. And she reportedly emailed all of her professors and let them know, hey, I'm not going to be here this week. I had a death in the family, and I just need to be out for a few days, and, I'll be back. Now, her family reports that there was no death in the family. So, no one's really sure why she needed this break. But she apparently needed a break because she went ahead and packed, all the useful things that you typically pack when you're going to go away, and plus her books, some workout attire and things like that, because she's still doing her cross country. She still loves to run. And she had called the owner of a condominium in Bartlett, New Hampshire, that she'd previously spent a lot of time at, and she considered that a very special place to her. So there was a call ahead for that. So there was a plan in place. She just didn't share that plan with anybody, which is unfortunate considering what happened. Now around 3:15 p.m., she stopped at an off-campus ATM, withdrew $280, which was pretty much all of the money that she had in her account. Not all of it, but pretty much all of it. And it's reported that she stopped at a liquor store and she bought roughly $40 worth of alcohol. According to Authorities, she had left the area of Amherst, Massachusetts around 4:30 p.m. driving her 1996 Saturn north towards New Hampshire was her route that she was on.
I remember Saturns. Those were great cars.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's been a while since we've seen one.
they don't make them anymore.
Well, yeah, I know that. But it's still not one of those used cars that people are like, let's keep it on my Saturn on the road forever.
Yeah.
I think the last one I saw was my best friend had one.
Yeah.
So and then when hers died out, she got a new car.
So, I mean, to elaborate just a little bit, she's a college kid. She's looking forward to probably getting away for a little bit. Probably told her professor so she wouldn't get in trouble. So she sounds like a pretty decent academic. She was involved in sports and things like that. So typical maybe playing hooky kind of thing where she just needed some time away. Maybe it's the stress of the college getting to her, stuff like that. So planning maybe a little trip up north and hang out and make sure that she was able to live it up just a little bit while she was there.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe.
And for anybody listening, by $30 of alcohol, that's
40.
$40 of alcohol. That's one decent bottle of scotch. That's a decent bottle of vodka. That's like one bottle. Well, back then that's probably two bottles, but
Yeah.
now like a $40 bottle is your mid to top shelf type of alcohol.
My I don't know, my favorite tequila's yeah, you get about one bottle with that.
Well, it's like $8.
No, Patron is not $8. All right, well, she apparently bought a box of wine was one of the things that she bought because that was discovered in her car.
Okay.
So we're going to fast forward now to 7:27 p.m. and Faith Westman of Haverhill, New Hampshire, called the police, stated that adjacent to her property, somebody had been in an accident, and there's a sharp corner there, and it was on Route 112, and that the car was in a ditch. So someone had already contacted somebody, and a couple minutes later, a bus driver known as Butch Atwood stopped by and, hey, do you need any help? And she said, no, I already called AAA. And he lived in the area. He only lived about 100 yards away. So he was quite close to there, knowing that right there didn't have cell service. So he was like, there's no way she could have called AAA, or at least I'm not sure she did. So he went ahead and called 911 when he got home shortly after that. And he said, hey, there's a car on the side of the road. And he let them know that she appeared to be shaken up, but he didn't see any kind of like clear injury. There was no blood on her or anything like that.
So this is two calls to 911 then?
Yes. Now we have two calls. Okay. Well, one was to the police station, one was to 911.
The police were notified twice?
Yes.
Okay.
So this call was recorded placed at 7:42 p.m. And he did see that the airbags, I can't talk today. The airbags were deployed. But again, he didn't notice any kind of obvious injury or anything like that would say, hey, there's this definite injury. This is what she needs, blah, blah, what, so on and so forth. Nothing like that. 4 minutes later, so they did not delay, officers showed up at the scene, and Maura was gone. So in, I'd say probably less than 10 minutes, she was on the side of the road, shaken up, and then she was gone. So
just to elaborate, this gentleman called the police roughly 15 minutes after the first call had been placed. So the first call was 7:27, the second call was 7:42. So 15 minutes-ish since the first call, he made the phone call and said that she was still in the vehicle.
She was not in the vehicle.
She
was out of the vehicle.
Okay.
She was shaken up.
Okay.
He didn't see any obvious injury, no blood. He did see that the airbags were deployed, though.
Okay.
So there was a clear collision.
Of some sort.
Yeah.
And some of those older cars you could bang on the dashboard the right way and that airbag would deploy. So
they're a little more sensitive.
Yeah. They're actually wildly less sensitive, but somehow more sensitive today. But yeah, there were known issues, but okay.
So the officer noted that the car was locked, that there was a box of red wine in the back seat behind the driver's seat. He also noticed that there was a Coca-Cola bottle with what appeared to be red liquid in it. So there's potential that she was having a little bit of wine while she was driving, but how much? Was it enough to actually cause any kind of impairment? Anything like that?
I mean, you just open the box and you can see the bag inside and tell how much has been drained. I mean, that should be a very clear answer.
At the moment, he didn't really have probable cause to break into the car to find out. I mean, I guess you could argue that he did.
Yeah.
But,
easily.
But at the same time,
I'm sorry.
He didn't see anything in there that said, "Hey, open me up. I'm going to give you clues."
I mean,
not
I
right
it.
then. I mean,
Right.
They did obviously eventually get into the car and look and see what was in there, and that she had packed all that stuff and all that. So the police officer had the bus driver, Mr. Atwood, help him out, and Mr. Atwood went and searched around the French Pond area, which was to the west of the scene. And then there were about 8 firemen that showed up, and they also searched the nearby area, but it was like very nearby, and again, mostly to the west. And EMT showed up, but because there was nobody there needing assistance, they went ahead and sent the EMT off. So as far as anyone was aware, though, nobody seems to have searched to the east, not immediately, at least. I'm not sure why you would think that they would circle the whole area, but for some reason, there's no clear sign or report that anybody searched to the east of the scene at right around the time that they showed up and when everything, initially happened.
I can almost forgive that if you arrive in a particular location, depending on the seclusion or the immediate surroundings. It could have been like a large empty field for several miles, like several miles of field where there does not appear to be civilization, and maybe speculation. If you wander from a crash, you might head to where houses are located, or you might head to seek help, as opposed to idly walking into an empty field, so to speak.
Which, from what I
don't
can
have
tell,
pictures. I don't know.
From what I could tell from the pictures, which there wasn't a very clear, this is north, this is west, this is east, this is south.
Right.
But from what I could tell from the pictures, it looked like it was a somewhat wooded area, at least somewhat wooded area, to the one side, and then it seems like there was housing, but I don't know exactly how much housing was on the other side. There was at least one house that was right there and didn't really see everything happen, but they heard something, looked out and was like, there's a car in the ditch, I should probably call the police, and they did. So, this is a sharp turn, so I wouldn't be surprised if this was not the first time that original caller had to call into the police and say, hey, somebody fell off the side of the road and they're in the ditch. So, and mind you, this is also in winter. Now, I couldn't really find any clear reports on what the road conditions were or anything like that. But it's winter and it's New Hampshire.
I mean,
it was probably snowy, potentially icy.
Well, there's obviously from the pictures, it could potentially be snowy. But I do know, I've lived in the Northeast. I specifically lived in the northern snow belt, so people talk about Buffalo and things like that being always, and it gets a lot of national attention because it's a large city. So when it gets hit, it's noticeable. Whenever they got hit with, let's say, 3 feet of snow, where I lived was 6 feet of snow. It never stopped. But there were lots of days where it was clear and had been clear for a while. So it could be either one, honestly.
It really could. It's a toss up. I mean, you have a good chance if you want to place a bet that there was snow somewhere.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Doesn't necessarily mean it was on the road, though. The road could have been dry.
Yep.
Even if there was snow around it, the road could have been dry. So at first, this was just treated like a simple missing persons case because from what they could tell, she voluntarily disappeared. Now, most people don't voluntarily disappear, crash their car, and then disappear.
I mean,
they usually just disappear.
If you're trying to disappear and then accidentally crash your car, that's inevitably what would happen, because then you're like, oh wait, I'm trying to get away. I need to go before I'm found by the authorities for whatever reason. But that doesn't sound like it's the case in this scenario. I feel more, yeah, there's obviously more to this.
If she was voluntarily disappearing, I doubt that she would have literally left everything in the car.
That's true. The head injuries are crazy, but
I mean, they are. But I mean, again, we don't have proof that there was a head injury
Right.
because from what Atwood saw, he didn't see any noticeable injury. Now, I've had my head hit. There wasn't noticeable injury with my head hit other than how I wasn't able to walk. So,
I mean, your eyes crossed. You were staring at the tip of your nose.
I had a pretty bad concussion, but I think I was more than... I wasn't so much shaken up, though, but I also wasn't in a car accident when that happened. I fell
True.
when that happened. So,
And adrenaline is a hell of a drug. We've talked about that on this show.
yes, it can be. And so I just don't see why, if she was voluntarily disappearing, other than, just hit her head and wasn't thinking straight,
Sure.
Why she would leave everything in the car and lock it.
Yeah, that's the part that kind of is weird to me. It was when you lock a vehicle, it is because you value what's inside.
Yes.
And whenever now granted, again, this is all speculation, so taking it with a giant grain of salt. When you lock the vehicle, you have a valuation of what's inside of that vehicle. So when you return, you're able to access those items in the hopes that nobody broke into your vehicle.
Right.
But after an accident, if we're going with the speculation there was no head injury, if we're just going on the evidence has been presented, after a head injury, why would you lock the vehicle and not come back, knowing that the police are going to arrive and search your vehicle? Or not search necessarily, but they're going to arrive and want to know what happened.
Well, there's lots of theories, and in 2009, obviously this became a cold case.
Sure.
And in 2009, the New Hampshire cold case took on the case and looked into it, and at that point they changed it from being a missing persons to a suspicious missing persons.
Okay.
Which I feel like they just should have done from the beginning.
Yeah, that should have been day one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like they, honestly, I don't know if it would have changed anything, but it almost feels like they failed the family by being like, oh, it's just a missing persons.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if it's a suspicious missing persons, maybe they put in a little extra legwork and maybe she could have been found a little easier.
Well, if during the course of their questioning, when they asked the family, was there death in the family? And no.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and signs did point to missing persons, but at the same time, there's a car crash with all of her stuff in it.
Right. Now, did they discover a purse or anything like that in the vehicle?
Her purse was in the car. That box of wine,
So the only thing that was not in the car were her keys.
was her, and I didn't find out if her keys were. I mean, for all I know, she could have locked her keys in the car. I'm assuming they were with her though.
Right.
I didn't see any clear. This is where her keys were.
Okay.
So theories online run all over the place.
Rampant.
There's the theories of, well, she got into a car accident. She was standing outside on the road. Somebody stopped by and was like, do you need any help? What happened? And she talked to them for even just a minute. And they could have abducted her and been like, hey, I got an opportunity to take this person and I'm going to do it.
I mean, that is super, super random though.
I mean, it is, but
when you parse it that way, that is.
I mean, it's possible though.
It is possible, but almost every abduction that I've even remotely looked into has been usually the result of a calculated decision. Because if you leave even a shred of evidence, then you're caught. You're done. So even just picking somebody up, like you don't know, were they on the, well, this was in 96, I suppose, not 96,
2004.
2004. So you don't know, is she on the phone? The police are on their way. Like that seems like a super high risk run and gun pickup.
Well, according to Atwood, there's no cell phone service right there. So if somebody knows that cars often slide off the road right there, but of course I feel like there'd probably be more than one person missing showing up from that area. But I mean, we don't know. I mean, all we have are theories and speculation. Yeah.
Sure.
Until, some piece of the puzzle comes in and solves it all for them, which I hope they get.
Oh, I mean, I can't imagine being that that be in her family. Like, sweet God.
I mean, no, I can't. I can't even imagine. Now, there is the chance, like we already discussed, that she did hit her head. There was no clear sign of injury, but she did hit her head.
Right.
And maybe she wandered off to the east where nobody checked. And, well, supposedly nobody checked. By all reports, nobody looked east. So for all we know, she could have wandered off to the east with amnesia. And there she went.
Yeah.
She became Jane Doe. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's...
I mean,
She could have built a whole new life, not because she completely forgot who she was.
even in a case like that, with 2004, like this, the wandering amnesia case, and I'm not poo-pooing the idea.
Yeah.
Because I have seen so many, just doing this criminal fix show with you and some of the stories we've dived into, and I try not to dive into them too much, y'all, because I like the organic feel. Like, I didn't look too much into the story because she brought it up. She said, this is what I'm going to do. Was recommended to us by Doug Maura, our friend from Glasgow. And when she brought it up, I was like, I won't look into it. I'll react organically. This is what I'm doing right now. Like, I haven't heard any of these details. I don't know any of this information, but whenever you hear something like that in 2004 with amnesia and not being recognized, with the advent of social media and the popularity of it, it feels
It's
less
far
likely.
less likely, yeah. You know, in 20 years prior, in 1984, this happened.
Right.
I mean, easily disappeared into the night. Easily. You know, even 10 years prior, easily disappeared into the night because, you know, internet wasn't what it is today. And at this point, and where it was in 2004 and how it's grown since then, I feel like somebody would have seen something, recognized her, or she would have seen something about herself and been like, wait a minute, that's me. And then maybe something would have clicked. But I mean, that's not what happened. But I mean, if I were family, that'd be what I'd be holding on to hope for, is that she wandered off with amnesia and just is another life somewhere else. But that's why, you know, they do ask podcasts and shows like this one to keep bringing it up, because she's out there somewhere. Somebody knows something. Somebody's seen something.
Sure.
And the only way that they're going to solve this puzzle is if they get all the pieces.
Absolutely.
Or at least enough of the pieces that they can get the picture.
Right. That's why I like firing off this stuff with you, because as I hear it organically, I can react to it better. And when I get the information, it's much easier to discuss because you can provide me information to the background, which would cause me to think harder. And that was my entire thing. So,
yeah. So, I mean, there's still the question of what happened. You know, why did she leave? There's no notation anywhere that I could find that she had a boyfriend. So it maybe, because otherwise you could speculate, well, maybe they got in a fight and she needed time away. Or maybe he lived in this other place and she wanted to go see him. And, you know, there wasn't anything along those lines. She did not have a significant other. And so the only thing I can think of was maybe school was just weighing on her a little too much. Maybe there was something going on in the family that wasn't seemingly that big of a deal, but added into the pressure of school and anything else that might have been going on there. And maybe she just, it piled heavier than you would think it would.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I mean, I know that happens with me. I mean, something small can come about, and there's the Strange Planet. Nathan Pyle, great guy, right? He does great work. And he has one clip where someone goes, oh, you know, this day is awful, but I'm powering through. And then the being goes to pull the paper towel in the bathroom thing, and just little shreds of paper come off and they break down.
Right.
So, I mean, all it takes is one little thing.
Yep.
One little thing. And it can send somebody from having just a pile of small things, and all of a sudden that one little thing makes all those other little things seem 1,000 times heavier.
Right. And we can look at that with a reflective lens in 2021.
And when was the last time she went on vacation? Maybe she felt like she just needed some time away, just in general. Maybe nothing was weighing on her. Maybe she just wanted some time away.
Now, was there any surveillance in the liquor? I'm assuming there was surveillance in the liquor store, right?
I believe they have surveillance of the ATM, of her going to the ATM. They have proof that she was there.
Okay.
And I believe I didn't see any notations of surveillance of the liquor store, but she did. Some witnesses placed her there.
Okay.
So they, what did they say? They thought she left the area around like 4:30.
Okay, so there's a surveillance video right there, or at least a picture of it, not the actual
Yeah,
video.
that's the
but
ATM.
my God, those cameras are terrible.
Yeah, they've definitely improved.
A little bit. They got full color on them now.
I mean, but looking at that, right? You see this picture, like if you were to just be going through, she looks like 100 other people there.
Yeah.
The detail is so
I'm assuming
not there. It's
I'm
just
assuming
absent.
I'm assuming they time matched it with a credit receipt or some kind of transaction at the liquor store.
Something along those lines, yeah.
I'm sure they correlated the time.
So, I mean, like I said, theories are all over the place online, depending on what podcast you're listening to, what blog you're reading. I mean, because they're doing a lot to keep the story alive, and I respect that. And so when it was suggested to us to do Maura's story for the show, and then I started reading into her, and I'm just like, how did I not hear of this sooner? And then I'm like, she needs to be broadcasted.
Sure.
She needs to be heard so that she can be found.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, I mean, any kind of answers are still answers.
Correct.
So if anybody has anything, you're not going to get that information unless the right person sees the right information, and maybe someone like us will help them get that. So we're going to talk about it.
No, absolutely, and it's a departure from some of the normal content that we do, but this still absolutely falls well within the realm of.
Well, we're doing crime in general. We're not just doing killers. So
that's right. I mean, those are the more
those are the more common
sensational,
ones,
and
yeah.
those are the ones that'll draw more attention. But stories like this one, in which there's no solution, this hasn't been figured out yet, and this deserves the attention, the notoriety of the people that we've covered in the past. They're already notorious. The
in one way or
incidents,
another,
the incidents that have occurred during this time, it's already known. This is an unknown. This is a missing persons report, or a suspicious missing persons report, in which speculation can help. And I'm sure the family doesn't like to relive this, but I'm sure they would like answers much more than they would questions.
Yeah.
And that's why I ask you questions. I want to know. And I kind of feel like the key would be figuring out why she left to begin with. I feel like that's probably the linchpin.
It might be. But unfortunately, to anyone's knowledge, nobody knows.
Did she have she had roommate, right?
It didn't say. Actually it didn't go into her living situation. So all it said was, all anybody knew was she was taking the week off from classes because there was a death in the family, but there was no death in the family. So
I mean, I have bizarre, wild speculation in my head, because the early 2000s were also a noted time for certain professors. What was the college she attended?
It was University of Massachusetts in Amherst.
Okay. Okay. That bears more research on my end, but that's okay.
Well, I mean, it's also baffling because in the span of, we'll say 10, 15 minutes, in that 10 to 15 minute time span, she went from, no, I'm good, I already called for somebody, to gone. And I feel like the search efforts were underdone from the get-go. And it's so important when somebody goes missing. Those first few hours are so important in trying to find answers. And if you skip half the area, you're not going to find answers.
Who did she tell that she called somebody?
Her professors. She emailed her professors to say that she was going to be out for that week.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant at the scene it was reported that she called somebody.
Well, she said that she called AAA. But Atwood said there's no cell service right there. There's no way she could have called AAA.
That's where I was going with that. Was I thought there was no cell service.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's saying, "Oh, I'm all good. I already called somebody. They're on their way. No big deal."
That's a pretty common defense when a stranger approaches you.
It is.
So it's
because some people that pull over when you're on the side of the road are trying to be helpful, and not everybody's nice.
No, that's
so you don't know who to trust and who not, so you're going to protect yourself.
No, that's
by
an
default.
Absolute reality.
Yeah.
And It is very possible that when Atwood approached, she was nervous. She had just been in an accident. Her adrenaline was probably spiking. He asked if she was okay. And she responded with a very defensible line, which is, no, I'm good. Like, go away. I call AAA. I don't need you.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily with that attitude. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm putting more attitude in it than I'm sure she was displaying. But there's an uncomfortability factor there that's a real life thing for a lot of women, especially college girl who may have dealt with
A
certain
young,
aspects.
very pretty.
Yep. Being approached by a complete stranger. And was so Atwood was, I'm assuming, local
Yes.
to the area. So he
He
was
lived
in the
about
little
100
neighborhood.
yards away.
Okay. So
roughly.
he was close enough by that it was
Quite
noticeable
close.
to him. Okay.
Yes. It's just it's been 17 years at this point, and I feel like somebody's got to know something, somebody's got to see this, and somebody's got to be able to help. No matter what that help is, if any help, is got to be, super helpful. They since her disappearance, her family, obviously, like I said, they continue to search. They continue to ask people to help them with information, with anything that they know. And they've actually asked for a historical marker for the scene of the accident. But unfortunately, they have been denied that. They are going to continue to try and request that, though. In the meantime, there is a big blue ribbon wrapped around one of the trees with a big blue bow. And to kind of commemorate that's where she was last seen. They like I said, they're seeking assistance from the public, in order to try and just get anything that might help them. So for the sake of Maura, for the sake of her family, if you happen to be watching this and you know something, definitely, contact them, let them know. They have a website, which we're going to link in the description on ways that you can contact them if you have any information. So, of course, because the family has done so much wonderful work trying to find her, she's gotten exposure on episodes of 2020 on the Oxygen channel. Montel, if anyone remembers him. I remember that guy.
I'm Montel.
E! News, People, Daily Mail, New York Daily News, all of those places, and so many more. There's actually a whole podcast. It's 107 Degrees is a podcast that is on Apple that talks about nothing but this. And they have so much information on that podcast, like recordings, police reports, things that you can't really get anywhere else. It all kind of happens right there. So we're doing our part, though, by bringing it up. We're going to try and hopefully get her the piece of the puzzle. Now, they haven't always gotten the best help. There's one problematic person for the family, and that is James Renner, who is an author, journalist, producer, and director, who on their website, I want to make sure I say this all right, so I'm going to read exactly what I wrote. On their website, you can find a notice for immediate release on May 25th of 2020, where they respond to, quote, newly launched website spreading false and malicious claims. The family says that he's sensationalizing it, that his portrayal does not reflect reality, that if he was not willing to, or if he wasn't able to get answers from somebody, he immediately marked them as suspicious, including Maura's father. He, in his stuff, he pointed to Maura's father
As a potential suspect?
For some kind of inclusion in this. Yeah.
I mean, there's wild speculation.
That feels extremely wild.
I was going to make what I figured was a wild speculation because, and I'm going to mention it only to creative juices. Not that I believe this is the case, but basically just to add, maybe we can turn some wheels. Maybe this will kickstart something. Maybe some rust on the cogs will break loose.
Well,
but college professors have a history, especially on the East Coast. I'm not saying anything about this institution. I'm sure it's a fine institution. I the professors, I'm sure, were great. But if there was anything happening between them, it would have been completely secret. No one would have known about it. And if she was escaping and had it set up with the institutions to be gone, that could have been, perhaps been the reason. But she didn't say anything.
He put so much. He went so left field in
Yeah,
his
that's way
speculation
out there.
that it's fiction.
Yes.
He pretty much is writing fiction on her story, which isn't going to help anybody.
No.
That's not going to help Maura. That's not going to help the family. That's not going to help anybody.
No, and again, I felt I wasn't even going to say anything about the college professor thing because I'm like, until I were to do more research into
Yeah.
that's really
Well,
out there. And then I hear that, I'm like, mine's logical. That's not even a logical
like
leap,
I said,
bro.
there's so many. Of course,
Sorry.
there's going to be speculation and ideas and stuff flown around between things like this show and other podcasts
Sure.
and whatnot. So, but I mean, he reflected so much fiction in his reporting of this.
Yeah, there's air
Reporting.
quotes for you. His journalism
that they felt the need to release a statement.
Wow.
Like that's how bad he is. So I'm gonna say right here, if James Arner ever sees this, hang on, we're gonna go with this one. Not cool, bro. Not cool. So yeah,
A stern rebuke.
stern rebuke.
I mean, there would be choice words were we not on YouTube, but yeah, that's way out there. That's crazy. Like I'm looking at like the Haverhill area.
I just feel like that's so insensitive. It is so disrespectful to the family, and
100%.
it's just why he's financially gaining off of his fiction, and so that's why he's doing it. But oh man, if I were them, I'd probably be taking him to court.
I mean,
Depending on, I don't know the full extent of what he was saying, but I mean, if it was bad enough that they had to make a statement, I feel like it might have been bad enough that they could potentially take him to court at some point.
well, unfortunately, I think from a legalistic standpoint, and again, I'm not a lawyer by any stretch of the imagination, but I think from just strictly legal standpoint, because it's speculation, and it is simply a conjecture that it does not qualify under any type of defamation or slanders, misgiving. Unfortunately, there have been several court cases in which journalism is protected as long as you're not like directly causing it's something bizarre, but it can fall under the realm of parody. I kid you not, some journalism can literally fall under the realm
Which
of parody.
might be
and
why
it's
they're just
protected.
making a statement.
Yeah, which is it's stupid, and you have a-holes like that take advantage of it, and it irritates me. But we have fun on our other shows with stuff, but that's way too far.
Yeah, there is such a thing as too far. So if you do know any information that could be helpful for finding Maura Murray, please contact their search efforts via the link in the description that we're going to add in there. It's going to send you right to their contact page where you can submit any tips, any information that you might have. There's an email address. And then they also have a GoFundMe set up, and there's a link to the GoFundMe on that page. Now, that GoFundMe is set up to help further search efforts beyond what the police are doing or have done. And right now, those current efforts are being used to focus on retesting lab samples in hopes that maybe they can give us give the family some new information. But yeah, I don't know if you want, is that up there? Yeah, there we go. So
I want to make sure we get everything up.
This young, beautiful girl, full future ahead of her. But where did she go?
Yeah. We're just gonna let that sit for a second, let people just get a chance to look at it, take a screenshot, something like that. Yeah, it's crazy. So, yeah, like Jassel said, if anybody has any information, hang on, I'm bucketing again. If anybody has any information whatsoever regarding her disappearance, come forward. Just
anything, any details.
If you
saw her walking down the street that day, if you asked her how she was doing that day, if
you were a classmate
anything.
and you remember her telling you the real reason she was going away.
Any hint as to what may be the real reason as to why she was going away. Even
write a note, slip it to the police.
The smallest detail. You don't even have to slip it to the police. You can submit it right on their website.
Yep. Anything.
Then anything that they get, I mean, if it leads anywhere, obviously they're going to let the police know.
Yeah.
So, but that's all we have for you today. So if you, like we said many times over, if you know anything, please, go to their website, click on the link below, give them any information that you might have, and hopefully Maura can find her way home. So thank you for watching. Thank you for joining with us. I do really hope that you enjoyed the video. Please be sure to like the video and then also subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the bell so that way you're notified anytime we do put up any new content. And also don't forget that we have geekpublicradio.com where you can get a $5 a month membership and you can get early access. You can get live viewings of the recordings and just so much more, so much more. But if you do have any suggestions for the show, like this one came from Dagmara. Is that how you say it? Okay, thank you. This one came from Dagmara. Thank you so much for the suggestion. I'm glad we finally got to it.
All the way from Glasgow, Scotland.
Oh, wow. That's quite far. But I hope you enjoyed the show. And then just leave a comment in the comment section if you have any ideas on what you'd like to see on the show, and we'd be happy to look into them. So thank you again for joining in. Truly enjoy always spending time and sharing this information with all of you. Thank you very much, Crazy Chris, for joining me. Because your commentary is always great and valuable. So
I feel like I'm in an HR meeting right now.
You are. So again, thanks for tuning in, you guys. Please have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. This is Drassel with your Criminal Fix.